All right, everybody. I'm Jasmine Martinez. Welcome to the Small Business Lover podcast. It's our first one. Yay. We're here with Beatrice of Dreamer Jewels today. So I don't want to steal her thunder. I'll let her introduce herself.
Hi, I'm Beatrice, or as many call me, Fanny for short. It's Beatrice Stefania. I go by my middle name, so Fanny. I'm the owner of Dreamer Jewels, and my sister and I actually own it together. So it's small business, and it's called Dreamer Jewels because I'm a DACA recipient or a dreamer. So yeah, that's a little bit about me.
So I didn't know that. I knew it was a dreamer, but I didn't know that it was your middle name.
I know a lot of people never know that. And I was going to tell you too. And I was like, oh, you know what? It's fine. Because when I sign up for everything, I'm like, okay, using like the legal name, like Beatrice. But then when I introduce myself, I'm like, oh, I'm Fanny.
No, that's why we do this. We're doing this because I've been out of work for a year now, a little over a year. And I've met so many amazing women. And when I actually talk to you guys and get to know you guys, it blows me away. And I feel like that's something that is super disconnected right now. I was talking to a customer about it this morning. It's like with Amazon, for example, like we want ease, right? Like we want to save time. But the trade-off for the ease is almost like connection because everyone's ordering things from home now. You're not outside, but I don't even go to the grocery store anymore. I do everything, like everything gets delivered. And it's like before we knew it, it's almost like that human like interaction's gone. And I think that's what's so charming about small business. It's literally an exchange of like energy, it's an interaction with another human. And I want to bring that back. So I was telling my husband, I'm like, I don't even care if no one watches this. I just want this documented. Like I want this moment in time to be documented somewhere. So I can say like when I'm 80, like, yeah, I did that.
Yeah. Yeah, I know. And I love that. And like you mentioned, like, that's a lot of our interactions are very limited today. And I feel like that's where I interact the most when I do the pop-ups. And I love it because I see, a lot of new faces and then a lot of returning customers too. And I just love that part, especially when I see like, oh, last time she brought the kids and like, oh, now you're pregnant. Oh, now I get to meet the baby. And that is just like so lovely to just see it evolve like that.
Do you feel that at pop-ups? Are people like you're like, hey, good morning, and people are like, okay, yeah, I'm not gonna go there. I don't want to talk to anybody.
I feel like I try to read their energy. I feel like that's too sometimes. Like when I approach, I'm like, oh shoot, okay, I'm just approaching right now. So, I try to read their energy. So if I see how they are, I'm like, oh, okay, how are you? Like if you need anything, let me know. Like how's your day going? And other times, if I see that they just kind of want to be like to themselves, and like, oh, if you have any questions, I'm here. And yeah.
I don't know, maybe the last one I did was like 5 years ago.
Oh dang.
And I feel like it's changed so much just from what I'm hearing
Yeah.
from other vendors from like pop-up fees being crazy.
Yeah.
Dude, $175 for a pop-up?
Yeah.
That's insane.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's insane. Do you even, I guess that's like a weird question, but is it still a profitable thing? Or are you finding that being in co-ops like this are benefiting you more? Like, what's that look like?
I feel like it is profitable with the pop-ups, especially because, sometimes like the vendor fees will be a little lower. And then you kind of see that too. Like when the vendor fees are a little bit low, sometimes it's like, okay, there's not that much foot traffic or maybe just the area or for whatever reason. Or sometimes like they're just, trying to be accommodating. And I love that. Like they want to keep it friendly, like budget friendly for small businesses.
I mean, like I feel like our location is so different because, like, yes, we have a store, but like we're in this 1,200 square foot. I call it a creative studio because it's more appealing than like garage.
Yeah.
But I have this whole other space where I'm like, okay, how do I continue to showcase business in that way? With it being scared. So like a $50 fee is like, okay, thanks for coming, thanks for your time. Now, if we were like in a crazy popular location, I think it'd be more expensive. But I think that's a good point. So like in your experience with those higher vendor fees, that's gonna be a great market.
Yes. And then but not always the case either. So it's like sometimes yes, and then things happen, whether it's like the weather or just it's a holiday or for whatever reason. But I've noticed too, like I like doing the more intimate or like smaller pop-ups too, because then I get to connect more with the customer versus when it's like pretty hectic ones. Sometimes it's just like we'll have a line and it's just like, okay, thank you, yeah, okay, next customer, and then that is amazing. I love, but then I don't really get to like have that connection with them, and then later they come back and I don't remember their face because I was so like boom boom boom. So that's the cool thing about like the
What's
smaller
the
events.
weirdest thing that's ever happened?
I'm trying to think. I was gonna say getting hit on. I'm here to work. But yeah, I know. I was like, oh my gosh. Okay. Recently it did happen and I was just minding my business and he just like approached me saying like, oh, I don't mean to be weird, but like I saw you from a distance and just started like hitting on me. I was like, oh my gosh. He was handsome, but I just thought the approach was so weird. I don't know. It was weird. I mean, yeah, because then later he's like, I don't know if there's anything like you want to like compliment me about. And I was like, this is weird. Yeah. I was like, oh, thank you so much. Have a great day. It's okay.
On the topic of dudes being weird,
Oh,
what's your situation?
oh, right now I'm currently single, but I'm not looking for anything. So I was in a relationship for close to 6 years. Like this month would have been 6 years. And he broke up with me a couple months ago, like back in November. So that was, oh, I felt like, the end of the world because it was like, that was my person. That's who I thought I was going to spend like the rest of my life with, grow old with. Like I literally didn't imagine anyone else there. And so then when that happened, it was just like so out of left field. Like I was shocked. Like everyone around me was shocked, but I feel like it was a blessing in disguise. And I mean, I like went through the emotions. I feel like I'm still going through them. Like it hits me, out of nowhere. I'll be like, okay, I'm doing good. And then it's like, boom, just like memory or just boom. But I don't know. I feel like just really opening up and talking about that has helped a lot. So, like, talking to my friends, talking to my mom, and just like a lot of reflecting, journaling. And like now it's just been all about myself, like self love, accepting like those beautiful and the not so beautiful parts of me. So it's been a journey, but it's been great that I have like dream rituals too, because it's been an outlet. And of course, there's times where I'm not in that creative mindset because of like whatever's going on in my personal life. But whenever I do have that outlet, I'm like, okay, like it's amazing. And then just the connections I make, like the people, I'm like, oh wow, there's so much love around me in like other ways. So
Met you. Like I met you first time I think for Mo's Friendsgiving,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you had like the glowiest energy. Like you were just,
Oh my
I
god,
know I loved it. And it's so unfortunately, like it's so hard to find women like that.
yeah,
Like everyone, and I don't blame, I'll say us. I don't
yeah.
blame us. Like we're super organic
Hmm.
sometimes. Like small business world, super competitive, but it doesn't have to be ugly.
Hmm.
And when I met you, it was so refreshing because I'm like, oh my gosh, she's just nice. And
No,
like she's beautiful. Like how old are you? Yeah.
I'm 30, turning 31 next month.
Okay. Like you're young and
Yeah.
like you were so nice, so kind, just so happy to be here, and that was super refreshing for me. That's why when I'm like, okay, she wants to join the collective, I'm at capacity for jewelry, but hers is a little different. Like I wanted your energy like that.
Oh,
I could just tell you're hungry. Like how often you're posting, you and your
yeah.
sister are popping up at yoga studios, which is genius, by
Yeah.
the way. I don't like want to spill the tea and give I feel like pop-ups are super just oversaturated.
Hmm.
And that's not a bad thing. There's a ton of opportunities for small businesses to join.
Hmm.
But like as a consumer, it's sad when I show where I go to. You
Yeah.
know, like
Yeah.
I can't be at like 4 different places. So I think what you guys are doing and the edge that you have in doing like private parties and the yoga studios, the sound baths, that's where it's at.
Yeah. Yeah. And thank you so much for all those compliments. Cause literally, like, when I met you, that was like a week post breakup.
Oh,
So it was like every weekend I was looking forward to, my weekends because that's when all the pop ups are. So it's like, okay, during the week, yeah, I'm working behind the scenes, but I have all this time to just think. And then during the weekends, it was like, okay, pop ups, like at least during this time, I'm just focused on this. And yeah, so I feel like that was really helpful too of like, okay, you know what? Sometimes you don't feel like getting out of bed. You don't want to throw makeup on. You just want to like lay there and cry. And it's like, well, no, you just got to do it. So, yeah.
that's this like in like the gray, like that's like the in between. But that's where I'm finding the beauty, like in these
Yeah.
relationships that I'm building. I have a friend named Ro, for example. Shout out to Ro Mendes, like the best photographer. when I met her, I literally had no idea that she was just getting started. She had her own story as to why photography was it for her. But like when I met her, I was intimidated.
Mhm.
She's like, "Hey, I want to take your picture. I'm going to be doing your event." And I'm like, "Oh my God, you want to take my picture?" So we bonded, we had coffee, and like the best day, like the best hour,
Mhm.
that I had. That was a weekend I was doing the wildfire donation. So I needed that break.
Mhm.
So exhausted. But she just did an amazing job. And like after we had coffee, when I learned her story, I'm like, oh my God, this is another example of like another woman kind of like struggling and going through a lot of things and just like
Mhm.
life happened.
Yeah.
And I would have never known that unless I took the time to talk to her.
Mhm.
So same situation. Like I would have I had no idea that you just got out of a relationship, a
Yeah.
6-year relationship. So kudos to you for being strong.
Yeah.
Like when I quit my job in May is when everything kind of started.
Mhm.
Like my grandpa had passed away and I was like, bruh, that was like really hard for me. That was like the first loss that I'd gone through where like it physically like hurt me.
Mhm.
And then in that same month, I had a breast cancer scare. So I was going through all this stuff and I was like struggling to wake up. And I've always considered myself strong. Like, no, whatever, like I can do it, I'll get through it. That was probably the first time in my life where I'm like, fuck, I don't know if I could do this. And I was waking up every day going to work. I was like functionally depressed. But like in hindsight, right?
Yeah.
I know that now.
Yeah. But looking back.
Yeah, but like, oh my God, what's wrong with me? Like, why can't I get out of bed? Like, what
Mhm.
is wrong with me? And then I quit my job and I'm like on this like crazy high of like, oh my God, it's freedom. But at the same time, like no one prepared me for like the PTSD after. Cause I mean, Home Depot was a part of my life for 15 years. So I started as a cashier, I did all the roles, became a store manager. So it's literally all I knew.
Mhm.
I tell
It's
people
like half your life. Yeah.
it was my life.
Yeah.
My friends were there, it was my job. I
Mhm.
loved it at one point. So after I quit my job and I was, getting the store situated, because my last day, I resigned in December. My last day was like around my birthday, January 22nd,
Mhm.
but I had just signed the lease January 1st. So January was crazy because I was working still.
Of 24?
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
I was working and then I was getting the store going at the same time. So I'd go to work from like 7 to 5, and then from 5 to like 10, I'd be at the store, decorating, getting it ready, signing vendors, getting it going. So my last day was January, I think like 22nd, and then I opened the store February 3rd. So I literally had no time.
Oh my gosh.
Isn't that
That's insane.
That's
Yeah.
crimes with Jasmine. Like, let's just associate and not deal with any of our issues. It's just, I don't know. A lot of people don't know that side of it. And like, again, that's like another example of like a highlight reel. Like Instagram's not real.
Mhm.
You're like, it's a highlight reel.
Yeah. And literally it was like, so, I got broken up with on a Friday, and then our anniversary, our Dreamer Jewels anniversary, our 2-year anniversary was on Monday. So then it was like, oh, okay, well, here we have to take pictures and like, look happy and post it and like thank everyone, because this is a really happy moment of like 2 years. But then I'm also like, oh my gosh, like I'm going through heartbreak. And then it's like, oh, but my business is, it's blooming. So it was always just trying to see like the positive through all the negatives. And yeah, there was like this quote that I saw recently that says, what was it? Oh, you ask God for flowers and he brings you rain. So I was like, oh my gosh, that's literally been like, it was November and then December. I had like some family things that went on. So then it was that. And then, just facing a lot of like, I guess just unhealed trauma and dealing with it and just, having to open up. So that's how the past few months have been like my personal life. But then the Dreamer Jewels has just been like amazing. So it's kind of been a little bit of like,
Where do you, like, what inspired you to do jewelry? Like, why jewelry?
So I've always loved jewelry ever since I was little. Like it's always been the accessories, like the bag, the earrings, everything. Except today, I just put the earrings on. I forgot. But yeah, it's always been that. And so for a moment growing up, I wanted to be in fashion or have like my own boutique. And then later, I guess just as I got older and started to think more realistic, I was like, okay, no, what should I actually do? And I've always really enjoyed like helping others. I like kids a lot. So I was like, okay, maybe psychology, maybe I could do like child psychology. So it was just a lot of like, okay, I want to major in business. No, I want to do fashion merchandising. No, you know what? I do want to do psychology. And then finally, I ended up getting my master's in behavior analysis. And halfway through that, I was like, ooh, this isn't what I want to do. So it was another like redirection of like, okay, what do I really want to do? Like, I want to be happy and like passionate about my job, my career. And at first, I felt like that about behavior therapy because I was working with kids with autism and I loved it. But then, like, during the pandemic, I was so blessed to still be working, but I felt like I just got like burnt out. And that's when I was doing my master's. And I was like, okay, well, the next step is going to be like, be case manager. And like, eventually I want to be clinical director. Like, I want to be up there. And then I just started thinking long term and like family and just like my personal life. So I was like, no, I want to have a good work life balance. Like, let me start my own business. So I can have that work life balance. Yes. Yeah.
I mean, my situation is a little different only because of the background that I had. Like, on a good day, I was working like 10, 11 hours. So I've been working less.
Yeah.
But for other small businesses that are building from the ground up, it's time.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I feel like not a lot of people shine light on the truth behind being a small business owner. There's like, you have to enjoy the highs while you have it because the lows are so low.
Yeah.
And you're alone. Like, you don't have coworkers. It's literally you, girl. Like, you, dude, like, you have a master.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I've met so many people that are accomplished that have like gone to school. Like Tessa, the girl that works for me on Sundays. Dude, she was an engineer.
You were telling me that. Yeah.
Like,
yeah. I love that.
She's really freaking good at it. Shout out to Tessa. Story about Tessa. So I'm hosting these women's networking events. And the one that I had, the first one I had, I woke up that day and I'm like, okay, cool. I'm going to have the best day ever. I learned that I need at least 3 hours in the morning. If I want to have a really good day.
Before you start?
3 hours.
Oh, okay.
I have coffee.
Yeah.
Dog. I just kind of ease into the day. And I did that. So right before I left, I'm like, okay, I'm going to have a good day today. My husband hugs me, like whatever. I get to my car and all my stuff is like all over the place. Right? And I was like, this is so weird. It didn't register that someone broke into my car.
Oh my gosh.
That was right before the women's networking event. So then I get here, I'm all spun up and I'm like, just pissed. I'm like sad. I felt violated. And I wasn't even going to like speak. I was just going to come facilitate. So I walk in and I think she felt my energy. Like, ever since I met her, I feel like when she looks at me, I'm like, what do you think? What is it? Tell me you're doing. Wild in that day. So she's like, no. So she's like, do you want me to grab your energy? And I'm like, yes, I need like something. Because I was just like spun.
Yeah.
So she took me in the room and she's like, I need you to breathe. She was like snapping her fingers and like, she literally said something like, I want like, put your foot like this foot down and then I want the negative energy out of this foot. And my foot literally started tingling. And when we were done, I was like, I don't know what you just did, but I just feel so relaxed. And I was able to get through the day.
Oh, I love that.
No, but when I say loud, I'm like, I sound crazy.
But no, but I feel like you don't because I feel that too. So, and I'm like, I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm the same with like intuitive stuff or just, I guess, feeling like spiritual or things like that. I'm like, oh, okay, like that's awesome, or like guided meditations are super helpful. So I know, I'm like, I know that must have helped.
A lot of women in business, I'm learning, are very spiritual. Like, I feel like that's just a thing. It's almost like you have to.
You have to be. It's okay. Like, we got it. Like, it's good. Exactly. Yes. Yeah. And literally, you're trying the corner. Like, it's going to work out. It's okay.
But
it does.
Like,
yeah.
And it's figuring out.
Yep.
And that's what, like, I want this to be. I want this to be, like, I want girls to watch this and be like, oh, shit. Like, she did it. I can do it, too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's crazy because, like, people walk into the store and they think I'm, like, magic. And I'm like, dude, I'm literally dying inside. I guess it's perspective.
Yeah.
It's outward perspective.
Mm-hmm.
So that's the business. What, like, is Dreamer Jewels a nod to DACA?
Yes. Yes. So I've always just felt I grew up undocumented. So it was always like, oh, don't say that. Or if you were born here, just, stay quiet. And then like just throughout life, finally when they approved like DACA, it was 18 and I finally got like my work permit, my social, my license. So all the things that I was like, oh my gosh, like I can drive now. Oh, I can apply for a job. Like, my gosh, I can go to school and not pay like out of, international fees, just things like that. Dreamer Jewels, I feel like is just showing you like, if I can do it, so can you. And yeah, that's
Dude, I so like relevant to where we are today in like the world. Like this is who we're scared of.
yeah.
Like it makes no sense to me. Like the fact that like we're generalizing an entire community is actually scary.
Yeah.
It's really scary how like narratives change, and things get carried in like the wrong direction.
Yeah.
Do you feel hopeful?
I try to. Yeah, I feel hopeful because I feel like, our generation is a lot of, I won't speak for all of them, but there's a lot of people in our generation that are speaking up and, going out there doing what they can. So I'm hopeful in that.
I posted like not that long ago that because like I was born here. I don't speak Spanish. My dad's Mexican. My grandfather was Native American. But my dad was born here. My grandma was born here. My great grandma was born here. It was my great grandfather that wasn't.
Yeah.
And on my mom's side, she's Filipino. My grandparents, weren't citizens.
Yeah.
They became citizens.
Yeah.
And it makes me really sad. I feel like we're trying to erase. It's not even like ethnicity. It's like culture. It's like roots. And I posted not long ago. I'm like, I don't know what I want to do, but I just feel like I need to do something. And it's crazy because like my whole life I've never felt enough. Like just because I'm half of something, I've never felt enough. It's like the weirdest thing.
Yeah.
But now Us Foundation reached out and she's like, no, we got you. I have someone that does candles, I have someone that does plants, like we're gonna do this workshop. And that's what we're hosting March 9th. So that like the ancestral roots.
Yeah.
It's gonna be beautiful. Like I'm so excited. But that's like an example of the amazing women that I've met. And that's what gives me hope.
Yeah, no, and I love that you're doing all these different workshops that you're doing, like, the networking for women, and then now you're doing this for ancestors. You're just doing so much to help the community and to bring the community together too.
It needed to happen. I feel like it was like extremes. It's always like, okay, you're gonna go to Amazon and you're gonna buy things where you have no interaction. And then it's like the actual brick and mortar stores are closing. Like I see so many posts of small businesses closing. Even downtown in our plaza in Orange, there's vacancies and it's never been that way. And it's scary. Like I joke and I'm like, oh, I picked the right time to quit my job. But I feel like Local Gem Collective, I say it all the time, it's not just a store, because it's really not. Like, my intention is obviously to showcase you guys by Dreamer Jewel, the Local Gem Collective. But it's also to, like I said earlier, like, commemorate, like, what we're doing. Everything comes in seasons. There's going to be a day where, maybe vendors leave and come and go, but we're always going to have that moment in time when we're part of Local Gem Collective. And then with the events that we're having, like, I have this strong desire now to bring women together. I feel like a lot of us suffer in silence. And that was like one of the things that I learned talking to you guys individually. I'm like, no, girl, you're not crazy. Like, I think that too. Like, no, like, let's validate each other and let's help each other through things. And it's wild because I wasn't always like that. Like, women oriented. Yeah. I grew up in like a really male dominated environment. And it was like, you're kind of taught, like, there's competition. Yeah. There's competition. So I have that natural competitive side, but it was like to my own detriment. Where like I never had like girlfriends. I was that girl that like always go along with guys. Like if I saw a group of girls, I'm like, eh. Yeah, like drama. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then get into this world, and it literally killed that piece of me. And I'll forever be grateful for that. I feel like I missed out on so much. Yeah. Making enemies in women. And I never did it intentionally. It just kind of happened. But, like, it took 34 years for me to learn, like, you give or you get what you give. Yeah. And it was me. It was my energy. Like, when people were not nice to me, it's because I was fucking not being nice. You were your masculine energy. 100%. Yeah. Yeah. She told me that. She's like, you were in your masculine so heavy, like, all the time. And I really was. Like, I really was. And I'm just grateful, like, out of everything that's happened, I'm grateful for the store. I feel fortunate to have what we have, but I'm grateful for that piece. Yeah. Because I feel like no matter what, like I'm never gonna go back to the version of myself that I was
Mm-hmm.
when I opened. And I mean, like snippet, that's what I'm gonna be talking about on Sunday on the coffee and yeah.
Yeah.
I want to talk like, look, like let's bring it out. Like we all at some point feel like someone's copying us.
Mm-hmm.
Or like I don't know, do you ever see stuff on Instagram and you're like, oh my god, I did that first? Like I feel like that's like a shadow.
I'll see it, but then it's more like, oh my gosh, like, okay, cool. Like, I'm inspired by my house.
And I feel like that's why you're so great. And I'm like, God, people like you like put me to shame. So I'm like, and this year I really like I feel like I've done a great job bringing like vendors together. I want to branch out and like make friends peers.
Yeah.
Because I feel like we have a lot in common and we're probably stronger together.
Mm-hmm.
Like how dope would it be to do like a collective crawl?
Yeah. Oh, that would be fun. Yeah.
And then it's almost like, because I mean, let's face it, like we all have the same vendors. Like it's like a cross pollination.
Yeah. Yeah. I always like end up seeing at least one vendor that I've already met in the past, which is awesome because then it's like, that connection continues and you're making like more friends too. But that would be fun.
Where I'm going for this year. Like I love the store. I'm happy with it. But we're finally like in a place where it feels settled.
Yeah.
Like I can start branching off to things like this or reaching out to people that are my peers. Because like I feel like having a mentor is so important.
Mm-hmm.
Like who's your mentor? Do you have one?
To me, it's my mom. Yeah, yeah, she's my mentor for sure. Like even with me being so positive now, because I haven't always been like this. It's because of her. Because I would just, I don't know, kind of just crumble over something so simple. She'd be like, Fanni, it's not the end of the world. Like you can't have a negative mindset. You can't think like that. Like it's gonna happen. Of like something as simple as, I don't know, like, oh, I'm never going to go to school, because there was a point where I felt like that because I was like, okay, with our financial status, and then like, I don't have like the citizenship, I don't have the documents to go. So I'm like, oh, I'm never going to be able to like pursue my education. She'd be like, no, you're going to do it. And then it's like, wow, like here I am, like with the master's. So it's crazy just like looking back and seeing like everything that I've done and just.
Yes. You should need to be proud of yourself.
Yeah, just like acknowledging that and being like, wow, I did that. Yeah, yeah, and you did that. And it's just like, I think we just need to take more time to just look back at everything that you've done. You might not be where you want to be, but when you reflect, it's like, wow, there's a lot that I've done.
That's really hard.
Yeah.
It's hard too because we're always, there's so many like trends and there's so many things and you're like, it's like stressful.
Yeah.
Like, so
yeah.
I've gotten in a habit of just posting and letting it go. Like I don't look back. And I feel bad sometimes because I feel like engagement's important. Like if someone's taking the time to comment on my post, I should take the time to reply. So there's like balance. But I feel like social media has a side to it where like you feel it's pressure. It's pressure to be relevant.
Yeah.
But I think at the end of the day, if you stay genuine, it's always going to win. You're always going to win. Like going back to like your mom, like our mom's great.
Yes, yes. They literally are.
Talking about your mom.
Oh yeah, because she's my world. Like that's my rock, and that's like one of the scariest things. I'm like, okay, the day that she's not here, like that's the day that I'm like, oh, I don't know how I'm gonna be.
I'll be here for you, girl.
Yeah, thank you.
Moms are great. My mom is my hero too. Like I don't know if you've met her. She's usually
no, I haven't gotten to meet her yet.
She comes to events and she's like my biggest cheerleader. Even when I honestly didn't deserve her. Like I was a jerk, like in middle school. I was like not a good kid. I still feel guilt for that. Like being a bad kid. But my mom is like a saint, and I tell people that all the time. But it took me like becoming a woman to see my mom just as a woman. Yeah. And like recognizing the things that she went through. And like I don't know, I've never thought about it like that until I actually sat down and like I was gonna write a book and then I started typing and like it just started flowing and then I realized I'm like, I just did a journal.
Yeah. Yeah. Journaling is so helpful. It's so helpful.
I wrote like a chapter for my mom and it's like okay. I guess a piece of this podcast is also going to be sharing the weird like synchronicities and like coincidences that have happened.
Yeah.
So when I was planning on writing a book, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to do it. And it was like the first week of January, and it was really slow in the store. So I sat down, and the day that I started typing, it just started flowing. So I'm writing this chapter about my mom, and I start like getting emotional. And I was writing about like my mom was a single mom, right? Like she was young. She was 22 or 23 by the time she had both of me and my brother. Me and my brother are 18 months apart. And she would like tell us like, "Hey, get a jacket, surprise!" And she'd take us to like Knott's Berry Farm or
Aww.
like the
Oh my
movie.
gosh.
She would take us to the beach all the time. Now that I'm older, I'm like, oh my God, she worked 5 to 1:30 every day.
Yeah.
She was tired. Like it was her time to rest.
Yeah.
But life is like ironic in that sense where by the time you learn these lessons, it's like, God, how much time has gone by? Like how much time have I wasted like judging her
Yeah.
or judging, him, like
Yeah.
others, I don't know, I feel like I'm in that place in my life where I'm like just really appreciative for like the people who still have it.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Especially like, the ones that are older in our lives. And I mean, just in general, anyone in our life, because you never know. Like life is so short and you never know what's going to happen.
And then she talks to me. Her name's Erica. She's like, I'm with the Now Us Foundation. We help a lot of women in business. We help underprivileged women. And I'm like, so every time I've doubted something or like, I'm just kind of like, I feel stuck, like a miracle like that happens.
Yeah. 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 Something happens where you're just like, okay, you know what? Like I'm aligned. Like this is where I'm supposed to be. Like you just feel that. Yeah.
Like it's crazy. Like it's crazy when I actually sit and think about what I've done, what we've created here. It always goes back to the amazing relationships that I've made. Like I would have never met any of you guys if I stayed at Home Depot. If I took the same route,
Yeah.
I would have been still making a lot of money, but I never meet you guys.
Yeah.
And I feel like that speaks to something. Like that has to mean something. What do you like what are your plans for your business? Like what do you want out of the next step here?
The next year. So right now we're inside 2 collectives. And that was like one of the goals for this year, which was like, okay, we started being here at Local Gem. So that was one of the goals of like, I want us to be inside more stores, but then eventually, like within hopefully the next 2-3 years or shorter, who knows, have our own store. So people can come there, they always have a place to find us, but then I would still like to do pop-ups because I love being out there with the community and just engaging with everyone. They're so much fun. Or, even doing something like you do, like hosting like little events to have people like come to the store and then just also to engage with the community. So that's something that I want in the next year.
You have a master's, you could totally do that. It's so easy. My experience was just different, but it's not like it wasn't hard to get a store.
Really?
No, but I'm telling you, like synchronicities.
Yeah.
So my first commercial lease was with someone that like 10 years ago, I was doing website sales company, but who was my account.
Oh.
There was familiarity, like we had a kind of like a relationship, like we knew who each other we were. But he gave me my first shot. Like I was on LoopNet. So everything happened in May. That was like I call it my tower moment because literally my world like just shattered. Like everything that my world was not the same after May.
Yeah.
2023. Yeah. And I was like, I couldn't sleep. And that's another thing. When I was working, I would sleep like 4 hours and I'd be totally fine. Now I'm like, God, I'm up 8 hours.
Yeah.
My body's like just in. But I would be up till like 2 a.m. just scrolling on the net, looking for listings, like daydreaming, like, oh my God, if I had this place, I'd do this. If I had this, I'd do this. And I saw his listing, so I called him. And I met him at the first one. And I didn't want to be weird and be like, hey, do you remember me? But he was like, hey, I'm Motivo, right? I'm like, oh, yeah. Cool. And it was as easy as that. That one didn't work out because it was a shared, and it's funny because it was upstairs too. It was a shared like environment, and they didn't want retail to be in and out because there's private offices.
Oh.
So I got a little discouraged, and I'm like, okay, maybe it's just not the time. And I want to say that was in October. And like my friends were over me, okay? Because I was like talking about opening a store, and I go back and forth, like, no, it's not gonna work. And then I found the first one. And it was like as easy as like okay, here it is. Okay, I want it. Okay, here's the lease. Like
Oh
that's
my
crazy.
gosh.
Now, the hard part's always like the information that they want, because if you're not established.
Hmm.
But luckily, I honestly don't even think that he ran it. Like, I think he just, it was that relationship that we had.
Yeah.
But actually finding the spot's not. Like, you
Okay.
can do it.
Yeah. Okay.
What city are you in?
Oh, that's so tough too, because I'm like, okay, I feel like we have a pretty strong community here in Orange, but then also Long Beach.
Long Beach is good.
Yeah, so it's like Long Beach and Orange is where like most of our clients are from. So it's tough.
I think we're good, girl. We're at 40 minutes.
Girl, this is the first one.
I learned a lot about you. I've always loved you, but I feel like I just like really like appreciate you as like a woman. Just knowing your background and like, dude, it still trips me out how we go through life. Like, you got your master's. I worked hard for 15 years to get to a position, and I got there, and I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore. And like, same with you. And like, shout out to us, because not many people
Yeah,
have the balls to do that. But
literally
too bad I should do it.
yeah, the courage to take a risk on
Yes,
ourselves.
girl.
So
Okay, support Dreamer Jewels. I'm Local Gem Collective. This is a small business lover podcast, and thank you guys for watching.
bye.